Hey everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today is another reading vlog, and it is another one in my continuing series. So I'm just going to quickly go over the 5 books that I'll be reading in this vlog. I will obviously go over them in more detail as much as I can because they are books in series when I read them. So the first book I'll be reading is Defy Me by Tahereh Mafi. This is the 5th book in the Shatter Me series. I am getting so close, guys. So close. You've followed me pretty much through this entire journey. The next is Magnolia Parks, The Long Way Home. This is the first time I will be reading a Magnolia Parks in this series, and I do have the next Daisy Hates as well. Not in this video, but I do own it. Then I will be finishing out the Stolen Heir duology by reading The Prisoner's Throne by Holly Black. Continuing on with a series that I believe has like stolen my heart based on just the first book is The Mistake from Elle Kennedy's Off-Campus series. And then again, I think another series you all have followed along with me on is The Red Queen. So I have this 3rd book, which is King's Cage by Victoria Aveyard. So that's the order I plan on reading them. As you may have noticed, I tried to break up the fantasy with a romance in between. I do believe that the Magnolia Parks one will just destroy me, so I'm not sure how long that's going to take me to get through, but I'm hoping to get through these books this week. Some of them, obviously, you've seen me read the previous ones in a series, but other ones, like the Magnolia Parks one, I think is the only new series. I can't remember if I read the deal. No, I did not read the deal in a series vlog, but I did read it in a vlog. The romances are new. The fantasies, you've all been following along with me for those. So I will get started on Defy Me, and then I'll be back to update you all. Hi. So this book just took a turn. We picked up after where the last book left off, which was kind of like a big deal. There was a bit of a cliffhanger, and now we have 3 point of views. The newest one is the one that we're getting the most of right now. And then where I just ended, I'm about 114 pages in. Where we just ended, I wasn't expecting to have what happened to happen. So that was interesting. I will continue to read. I have to go somewhere for a bit, which was not a good place to leave off on this book, but that's fine. It'll just make me want to pick it up even more later. I think I may finish this tonight. These books read fast for me. I'm already like 30% of the way through, and it has been like 45 minutes. So I will update y'all when I figure out what is going on. Okay, so I just finished up with Defy Me. And this book, like nothing happened, but like a lot happened is the best way to describe it. Like action-wise, not a lot happened, but we got a lot of information in this one and set up for like the final book, which I think is like decently longer than this one. Not exactly sure. But I've been like flying through the last few of these. I did like the 3rd point of view that we got in this book, so that was a nice little bonus for this one. And now I'm going to move on to a book that's probably going to take me forever to read because it's going to rip my heart out, but that is Magnolia Parks, The Long Way Home. I kind of remember how the first Magnolia Parks book ended. I don't remember so many details about it as much as like the general thing that happened at the end of it. So we'll see what my brain remembers going into this. I'm probably only going to read a little bit of this tonight before I go to bed because I'm already tired, but I do want to just get started on it before the week gets started. I will talk to you guys tomorrow about where I made it with this. Hey everyone, so I have read a good chunk, not really too much, 80 pages of, no I didn't, I read more than that, please hold. I lost my spot when I went to the dentist and I panicked when they came to get me and I shut the book, but I know I'm further than this. I've read almost 200 pages of this, and this is like frustrating, but I can't not read it, if that makes sense. Like their relationship, BJ and Magnolia's relationship, is just constantly making me angry, but like I want them to be together, but at the same time, like I like them better in this one, and I think because it's a little bit less toxic in this one than what was happening in the first one. Granted, I'm only 200 pages in, so it could take a turn, but the first book was just like what they were doing was just, it not only was messing with themselves, it was messing with other people. This one isn't too much of that yet, but they are still like messing with each other, like mentally, like emotionally messing with each other, and I don't think it's intentional. I think they're just confused about where they are, and there's a lot of miscommunication, but there's no miscommunication about how they feel for each other to each other. It's just how do they deal with that. So I think I'm liking this one better than the first one. The first one made me almost not want to continue the series, but then I really liked Daisy Hates, and I think because we're seeing Julian in this one, and I think we get more of him further into this book, that's making me happy because I love Julian, but we'll see. So far, I don't want to say I'm enjoying it because it is a very like emotionally draining book, and I have a feeling that this book is going to end on something that makes me very sad based on how I've seen people talk about this and then the beginning of Into the Dark. But I do have, I'm like now just wanting to binge this and say completely screw the rest of my TBR for the month. I want to read the other 2 books because I just bought Into the Dark today that should be coming, and I already have the second Daisy Hates book. But I have other things to read this month, so we'll see if I can squeeze it in. That's my update. I'll be back with y'all tomorrow. So I just finished Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home, and it was a sad ending, but I knew it was going to be a sad ending, so I don't know that it hit me as hard, and I feel like the next Magnolia Park's book might be harder to get through at the beginning because of what happened at the end of this, more so than like this was sad at the end. Had I not known that it was going to end like it tragically, then, or sad at least, that I would have probably been a little more shocked, but I was kind of bracing myself for something the entire time. So this was definitely not as frustrating as the first book in her point of view and her and PJ's point of view, but it still was a little frustrating. But I'm interested now to see where Jessa takes their story. I've heard that it's well done in the last book, and I did just order that because I do have Daisy Hates The Great Undoing, which I'm very excited for because we got a lot of Julian in this book, and I freaking love him. And I think we get even more of him in the next Daisy Hates book. So very excited for that. Not sure when I'm going to read it, but now that I read this, I kind of want to read the next 2 books soon. So now that I have them both, I can do that. And the next book I'm going to read is Prisoner's Throne by Holly Black, the second book in the Stolen Heir duology. So this follows Oak and Ren. Oak was Jude's little brother in the Cruel Prince trilogy, and Ren was like a princess, I guess, in that. And the first book was really from like her point of view. I think this one might be more from Oak's. I don't know yet. We'll find out. But I liked The Stolen Heir more than the Cruel Prince trilogy. I did not really like the Cruel Prince trilogy, which I've said many, many times. I don't need to repeat it, but I did enjoy that book more. So I'm curious to see how this one goes. But either way, I'll be done with that world. So that's a plus. I will maybe start this tonight, maybe not, we'll see. And then I'll come back with wherever I am tomorrow. Hey everyone, it is Wednesday. I just got about halfway through The Prisoner's Throne. I have no idea what I'm reading, apparently. The Prisoner's Throne by Holly Black. Second book in the Stolen Heir duology. So this is more from Oak's point of view. The first book was more from Ren. And now we're seeing the fallout of what happened in the first book in this book, but it is being basically told by Oak. So I am thinking this book might not be as good as The Stolen Heir at this point. It's a little slow right now. I mean, right where we are, I think, is where the story's going to turn. But the like first 150 pages was pretty slow. So not enjoying it as much. I don't hate it. It's just I want something to happen. And I'm just waiting and waiting and waiting for something to happen. So I will continue reading and update y'all. I don't know if I'll update once more or if I'll just let you know when I finish. We'll see how fast I get through it. So I finished The Prisoner's Throne this morning when I got to work. And I liked this more towards the end. The beginning was slow. There wasn't much that went on for a while. The story really picked up in like the last 100 pages or so, and I did like the ending. So I didn't like it as much, I don't think, as the first one. And I don't know if it was because we're from like Oak's point of view and like the difference between him and Ren and like how they think and how they approach the world is like very different. And I think I liked seeing things from her point of view a little bit more. But it was a cute ending. This was just like a really fun little duology. If you like The Cruel Prince, you may like this. I didn't like The Cruel Prince and I liked this, so give it a shot. The characters are obviously the same, but also focused different. So if you didn't like The Cruel Prince, you may still like that. Then I started The Mistake and I got about 65 pages in. This is about John Logan and Claire. And so far, all I know is that he accidentally ends up like in her dorm one night looking for his friend, and then they like hang out and things happen and like the situation's just weird. I don't know how to describe. I'm not gonna like spoil it, but like it's just a weird situation, like what happens between them. And that's where I am. I think based on the back, like this is her freshman year and his junior year that I'm still in. And I think based on what it says on the back, like they come back the next year, his senior year, her sophomore year, and he tries to make up for the awkwardness of what happened. So far it's okay. I like Claire. Logan, I'm not really 100% sure how I feel about him yet, but I'm sure I'll like it. I'm sure I'll enjoy it. It's a fun little romance. I do enjoy Elle Kennedy's writing. It has been a little spicy so far, but I'm expecting that after reading the first book in the series, so I will update either when I finish. I have like all evening to read this, and I will probably fly through it, so I don't know if I'll update one more time before I finish or if I'll just finish it and then let you guys know when I move on to the final book. Hey everyone. So I finished The Mistake yesterday. I liked this book, but not as much as I would say I liked The Deal. The couple in this was cute. I did like Logan. I loved Grace. I think I called her Claire earlier. I don't know where I got that name from. But I did really like Grace. And I don't know what I would call the trope, but it's not a trope that I read that often. It was basically like he screwed up and then had to win her back and she made him work for it. It was cute. But I'd have to say that The Deal is still my favorite out of these two. But I did like this. I still rated it pretty high. So I'm excited to go into the next one, which is The Score. And I think that's Dean's book, but I'm not 100% sure. So that's done. And the last book we're gonna do in this vlog is King's Cage by Victoria Aveyard. This is the third book in the Red Queen series. It is a quartet. I don't know what you call it, but it's 4 books. I do have War Storm, which is the final one. And I am excited to see how this book ends. This series has been compared to Powerless by Lauren Roberts. The series was obviously out first, but the premise is that there's 2 types of people, the Silvers and the Reds, and the Silvers kind of rule society because they have powers that the Reds don't have. And our main character, Mare, kind of got herself into a sticky situation with the 2 princes in the first book, and now we're kind of dealing with all of the fallout that happened in the first book and where that has led the brothers to. The brothers have obviously had different paths from the first book, and she's had to deal with consequences from what happened in that book. And there was more action, I'd say, in the second one, because there is like a war going on, there's rebels and everything. There's more action with that in the second one, and there was definitely more high stakes in the second book, I think. So I just finished, that was Glass Sword, I just finished that one, I think last month. So everything's still pretty fresh. I want to get through this. And something pretty drastic happened at the end of that book, so this one should start off with a bang. But it's pretty long though. This is a chunky book. How many pages is this? This is just over 500 pages, and the writing's not huge. So I'm not sure how long this one's gonna take me, but I'll get started and come back and tell you all my thoughts once I get far enough to have an opinion. Hey everyone, first update on King's Cage. I'm about just like 50% of the way through the book. This has taken me a while to read, and I haven't updated yet just because I've been busy. I've been out all day. I read a little bit this morning, but I really want to try to finish this today. The beginning was a little slow, not going to lie, but now it's like really picking up. So I think I have about 220 pages left. So I'm gonna just like try to sit down and grind through this. I have a few other things I need to do, but I really do want to get this done today so that I can move on from this vlog. But also there's other books I want to read this month, obviously. I'm enjoying it. It's now getting to the point where I think it's gonna pick up and I'm really gonna like it. I'm waiting for something to happen and I think it's about to. So that's probably why it's been something that's been a little slow for me, but let's hope that that picks up real quick. Okay, time to wrap up this reading vlog in another attempt to finish all of these series that I'm in the middle of. So we'll go in reverse order since I only gave one update on this. King's Cage by Victoria Aveyard, third book in the Red Queen series. This book was a little bit slow at times. There was definitely a lot more like war and action in that aspect, but there were times where the story was just dragging on because we were in Mare's head a lot. There wasn't a lot of dialogue. We were just dealing with like her. So that part was a little slow. We did get 3 different POVs in this, which I really did like because it did open up the story a little more because you were following like multiple timelines every so often. So I did like that. And the second half of the book was definitely better, I think, than the first half. In the ending, I thought something was going to happen in this book that didn't. And I'm really hoping it happens in the 4th book. But the ending was a little bit off of what I thought was going to happen. So I gave this 4 stars and 1 spice. And I'm very excited to see how this series wraps up in War Storm. Before that, I read The Mistake by Elle Kennedy. This is the second book in the Off Campus series. This follows Grace and Logan And the basic premise of this is that like they meet accidentally and there's like an immediate attraction, obviously. Like she knew who he was, but because he's popular, he didn't really know who she was until they met. And then he kind of becomes a little bit obsessed with her, but like in a cute way. And then he messes up because he's trying to do the right thing, but miscommunication and all that kind of stuff, he messes up. And then when he realizes he wants to be with her seriously, he tries to go back to her and she's like, you're not gonna get back on my good graces that easily. That was not supposed to be a pun, but you have to work for it. So she like makes him work for it, but it's just a very cute little hockey romance. I love the characters in these books, and while this wasn't as good as The Deal, I still really enjoyed this. I gave this a 3.75 and 2 on Spice. And before that, I read The Prisoner's Throne by Holly Black. This is completing a duology for me. This is completing the Folk of the Air world for me. This is the second book in the Stolen Heir duology, and I did not like this one as much as the first one, but again, the ending was really good. I liked how it wrapped up. It was, again, slow at times. Not too much really happened in this book, but it was cool to see like Oak and Ren's story wrap up. This book was from Oak's point of view, whereas the first book in the duology was from Ren's point of view, and I think I liked her point of view better in the storyline, and that was just more interesting to me. Still enjoyed this. Also gave this a 3.75 on Spice. Then I had my whole world ripped apart when I read Magnolia Park: The Long Way Home. I liked the couple more in this book than I did in the original Magnolia Parks. I still feel like Daisy Hates is gonna forever be my preference of the two. I knew something bad was coming at the end, so I don't think it hit as hard because I was expecting it. But I feel like the beginning of the next book for them is going to be hard to get through because of what happened at the end. I did like aspects of this. I like that we got more of a certain character in this book. And I still was annoyed at many times with like BJ and Magnolia's love story, but it wasn't as bad as the first one, I don't think. So we will see how Into the Dark goes when I get there. This was a 4.25, which is pretty good for a book like this because there was a character in this book that I really hated, and I might have given this a better rating if that character wasn't in the book for as much as they were, and a 1.5 on Spice. And I started this vlog reading Defy Me by Tara Mafi, which is the 5th book in the Shatter Me series. Again, we got more of character development. We understood a little bit more of what's going on in this world. That was the basic premise of this book. It didn't have too much in regards of like action happening, but in terms of understanding more of like what the setup will be for the final book, this book I think was important for that because we're learning more about Juliet's past and how everything's gonna tie together. This was a 4.5 on Spice. So I'm very happy with the progress I made in this series vlog. I've got one more book. I finished one series and I'm very close to finishing 2 other ones. So that is good. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I've talked about in this vlog, or if you've read any of the books in these series. Let me know if you have, which one you've loved the best, and any thoughts and opinions you have on them down in the comments. And I thank you for watching my video and hope to see you all in the next one.